Welcome to the Numerical Tarot. A new tarot paradigm. An alternative to tradition. An axial system of archetypal crystallography. A transculturally anthropomorphized, life-biased binary influence calculator. A wisdom system and archetype enhancer, with harmony of interpretation throughout. The content of all the videos in this series are excerpts, edits and brief summaries from the eBooks All Things Are Numbers and All Things Are Patterns, links below. For a more complete explanation of each idea, additional reading might be helpful. Hopefully the basic ideas come across enough to pique your interest in trying this alternative approach to tarot. The observant viewer may have noticed, within the various steps of our more elaborate path of cosmic evolution, a mention of how the duality of the absentia, being rooted in Mobius-like paradox, and the duality of nothing and something, being the mother and father of creation, could in fact be seen as a duality of dualities or dual dualities. Something and nothing are a duality, opposed by the duality of an inner and outer absentia. Each one is a duality. Each duality is a partner in duality to each other. Weird? Well, hang on, because there is more to it than that. Mathematically, people tend to associate the concept of unity with the number 1, because the number 1 is indivisible. But, at the same time, some will also acknowledge how the wholly contiguous continuum of infinity is itself an appropriate representation of unity by way of its infinite sameness or uniformity. Unfortunately, we usually label the contiguous continuum of infinity with a 0, not a 1. In addition to this, some will argue that their unknowable, ineffable Godhead, whatever that might be, is the true source of unity by way of being the precursor of all that is and isn't. There is often no number given for an ineffable Godhead. So, one might ask, where is this unity that so many spiritual philosophies instruct us to seek? The problem we are having is easily traceable to semantics and vocabulary. Words are important to communicating ideas, and when we are dealing with such a delicate idea as what we are to seek in pursuit of spiritual awareness, it is advisable to define our terms as clearly as possible. Toward that goal, I choose to define unity as existing in all three of these locations. But, as I define unity as existing in all three of these locations, I do not see them all as expressing the same kind of unity. Elsewhere in this study, we established the idea of an ineffable Godhead that, through paradox, was actually able to be binary and singular at the same time. So we have a singular Godhead. This binary singularity was then seen as the logical opposite to a universe where opposites are clearly separate and binary. As separate concepts, the continuum of infinity was seen as unified. So we have a unified infinity of nothingness. From there, the individual entities that breached that continuum were seen as individual entities, standing alone as one thing. A unity unto itself, or oneness. To me, all three of these ideas embody a certain kind of singularity, or unity, or oneness that a spiritual philosophy might ask us to pursue. The trick to navigating this terrain of ideas and notions is to continue clarifying our terms. Thus, to me, the word singularity is most appropriately associated with the idea of an ineffable Godhead, which, in this study, we are calling the absentia. The absentia is where we find the idea of a universe reduced to an impossible singularity of nature. Let's label this with the letter A. Next, I see the concept of a contiguous continuum of infinity as the best representation of the word unity itself, or perhaps the word uniformity. The endless dark reaches of infinity provide a uniform ground upon which the figure of manifestation is seen. Manifestation emerges from infinity as whirlpools of nothingness, and upon death, returns to that unity and uniformity of nothingness. The unity and uniformity of nothingness is how we know ourselves to be the same, and diversity of everythingness is how we know ourselves to be different. We label nothingness with a 0. Next, as we label the individual parameters of emerging existence with numbers, the number 1 represents the concept of the oneness that births subsequent manifestation, and all its duality and diversity. The concept of oneness, while being associated with the subsequent diversity of breaching manifestation, is nonetheless capable of expressing a unique kind of unity. All things begin with one, in that sense, all things share the one, in that sense one is a form of unity or ultimate integrity. Oneness is how we all know ourselves to be the center of our own universe. This may sound egotistical and self-centered, but, inasmuch as many define reality as that which we as individuals hold in our minds, being the center of the only universe we could ever hope to know makes sense. Thus, the number 1 is more about the integrity of identity than actual unity. But, because the nature of that identity is singular, autonomous, independent and indivisible in form, its singular, indivisible nature makes it a unique form of manifest unity, i.e., individuality. The phrase, I am, precedes all expression of who we actually are. Thus, as long as we exist, all that we are can be reduced to our essential being, the indivisible individuation of the individual. All of manifestation reduces to a point. A point then reduces to nothingness. Nothingness then reduces to absentia. Unity is triune. The unity of absentia is an unknowable unity. The unity of nothingness is a non-manifest unity. The unity of oneness is a manifest unity. Together, they represent the first three steps of creation. The paradoxical unity of absentia is a divine unity known by no one. The holistic unity of the universe is a universal unity known by everyone. They are not the same. Confusing these two is what leads many to think that reducing to simplicity will in fact lead to an ultimate cosmic divinity, when, in fact, it does not. You can be something and not find it. And you can be nothing and not find it. The model of existence being put forth in this study coagulates like a gas turning into a liquid, turning into a solid. Thus, within the sense of these three unities, the gas would be analogous to the absentia. The liquid would be analogous to the contiguous continuum of infinity. The solid would be analogous to the manifest entities that breach the continuum, leaving us with three evolving forms of unity. Paradox provides a beginningless beginning that leads to infinite chaos, that leads to manifest order. 1, 2, 3. Or 0, 1, 1. Out of paradox comes chaos, out of the chaos of nothingness comes order, out of the order of manifestation comes the model of existence being put forth everywhere in this study. The symmetry of each unity is broken to evolve another, eventually reaching a point, which leads to manifestation of being. The absentia is paradoxically never emptied and never filled. The universe is obviously always empty and always filled. The absentia is never changing. The universe is ever changing. The 2 points of absentia are an ineffable, beginningless beginning. The 2 unities of infinity and point are ineffable, beginningful beginning that launches us into the concept of duality and evolving complexity. Between them is a glass ceiling. We can never know the absentia because of its characteristically exclusionary nature. Thus, the absentia is seen as a generative beginning, whilst the 2 unities of infinity and point are seen as a germinative beginning. One launches the very idea of a universe. The other launches the content of that universe. Spiritual philosophies urge us to seek unity through simplicity. They suggest that the complexities of manifestation remove us from the simplicity of unity. Now we can see how unity itself is not really all that simple. Because of the dual aspects of the absentia, unity can actually be viewed as fourfold, as in 2 points of absentia versus 2 points of universe. Or, if the absentia is taken as a singular singularity, unity can be viewed as threefold, as in 1 point of absentia and 2 points of universe. Or, if the absentia and the universe are taken as opposites, unity can be seen as twofold, as in just absentia and just a universe. Or, if taken all together, unity can be seen as one. Say what? The fourfold trinity of binary unity? Are you kidding? No. That's right, within the homemade universe of tarot being presented in this study, unity is in fact fourfold in the way that 2 points of paradoxical absentia are reflected into our universe as the unity of infinity and the unity of a point. But, inasmuch as the 2 points of absentia are in fact representative of a cosmic singularity, we can also think of absentia as just one form of unity, in a Fibonacci-like progression of 3 unities, where the absentia equals the quantity of 0, and the 2 unities of infinity and point are the 2 Fibonacci ones that lead to the duality of manifestation. At the same time, whether viewed as 2 points of absentia or a singularity, absentia and universe are themselves binary in their relationship to each other. The universe is here because the absentia isn't. They are logical opposites in the very idea of who we are and aren't. Finally, considered together as multiple expressions of unity, they are, altogether, a singular representation of the unity that so many spiritual philosophies suggest we seek in pursuit of spiritual awareness. Where have I seen this pattern before? A progression from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. It sounds like a Pythagorean tetractys, except in reverse. Most of the time, when I see the tetractys, people refer to it as an array of 1, 2, 3, and 4 dots, which total 10. the tetractys was, or is, considered sacred. In the same way, I think we would not be too far out of bounds to consider our description of unity in 4, 3, 2, and 1 parts to also be pretty sacred. In fact, if we consider the idea that unity reflects itself to create duality and the rest of the material universe, then, by reflecting our 4-3-2-1 unity, we actually create the more traditional upward-pointing tetractys, revered by the Pythagoreans. For 3-2-1 reflected as 1-2-3-4 creates a tetractys. By reflecting our 4-3-2-1 unity into the material world, we create a 1-2-3-4 tetractys of our own. By creating a tetractys of our own, from a concept of unity in 4 parts, we can see how qualities of unity reflect to create the unity, duality, diversity, and complexity of a universe. Of course, it might be noticed that my version of a tetractys is a little different in how I number the dots. You can read more about this in my books. Ultimately, it is probably most useful to view unity as triune, with an absentia birthing a universe of nothing and something. In the Genesis logic videos that precede this one, this pattern was called the cosmic waltz because of the threefold pa nature and the Fibonacci-like sequence of 0, 1, 1. In a philosophy like Tao, the Tao would be equivalent to the 0, and the partners of yin and yang would be equivalent to the Fibonacci 1 and 1. Or the pa of the pa. In Christianity, God would be comparable to the 0, and the partners of Eve and Adam would be comparable to the Fibonacci 1 and 1. Or the pa of the pa. But wait a minute. Adam birthed from Eve? A man born from a woman? Heresy. Death to the infidel who utters such blasphemy. God is the Father who created Adam in his image. Woman was an afterthought. Really? A male birthing a male? A woman born from a man? Really? Such a patriarchal, paternal, male-centric philosophy designed mostly by men, who, by their cultural breeding, tended to view women as secondary to men, and were thereby compelled to manipulate all spiritual ideas to put the male first and foremost, seems backwards to me, as well as unnatural, not to mention illogical. Thus, the approach given in this study has a different point of view. Paradox, chaos, and order. Absentia, nothing and something. A universe in 3 parts is universal. The exact order of the initial sequence is debatable. Ultimately, starting a spiritual philosophy, or a universe, with the notion of a trinity is pretty universal. It is universal because it is both logical and obvious. After observing the obviously binary nature of our world, it is also pretty obvious for us to think that there ought to be some kind of neutral point in between all these binary sets that holds them together and negotiates their interactions with each other. Turning that neutral point into a God of some kind is a human embellishment. But it is an embellishment that is not without some reason to believe. And with that, let's end our discussion of unity, or unities. Hope it made some sense. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Links to eBooks, decks, and merchandise below. And, if anyone is interested in drawing a deck based on this system of organization, don't hesitate to contact me for a collaboration.